It was 6:43 a.m. in the towering Skyline Tower, Chicago, and Emily Carter pushed her cleaning cart quietly across the marble floors, unaware that she was about to stumble upon a secret that could destroy a multi-million-dollar empire before the morning even began. A single overlooked document, a few numbers miscalculated, and the life of the CEO, Benjamin Knight, hung in the balance. One brave choice, one tiny note left on a desk would change everything. Emily had no idea that by noticing what everyone else missed, she was about to save the company, expose a betrayal, and alter her own life forever. It was 6:43 a.m., and the halls of Skyline Tower in downtown Chicago were eerily quiet. Emily Carter, pushing her worn cleaning cart, moved cautiously across the polished marble floors of the 23rd floor. The faint squeak of the cartwheels echoed in the vast emptiness, breaking the early morning silence. At 32, Emily carried more than just the weight of her responsibilities as a single mother. Her eyes carried the fatigue of years spent surviving on the edge, juggling two jobs, and fighting to provide for her daughter Sophie. This morning was no different, or so it seemed. Emily had worked at Knight Enterprises for 3 years, and in all that time she had remained invisible. The executives barely noticed her presence, and to Emily that was safe. Being unseen meant being safe. She followed her routine, emptying trash bins, wiping down desks, sanitizing surfaces. Her mind wandered as she thought about Sophie's birthday next week. 12 years old, a small budget, only a few $100s to make it special. Emily sighed, wishing she could afford something more. Survival left no room for celebration. When she reached the office of Benjamin Knight, the CEO she had glimpsed only in hurried corridors, something unusual caught her eye. Papers were scattered across the mahogany desk, and on top of the stack lay a document with the word bankruptcy printed in bold black letters. Her heart skipped a beat. Benjamin Knight was scheduled to sign it at 8 o'clock sharp. If he did, Knight Enterprises, the company he had built from the ground up, would be wiped out by the end of the morning. Emily froze. She had never touched official company documents before. She wasn't an accountant, nor had she received any formal training in finance. Yet something about the numbers felt wrong. Instinctively, she picked up the papers and began scanning them. Debts listed to creditors, sums totaling over $10 million, and a signature line poised for destruction. Her pulse raced and her hands shook, not from fear of cold, but from the weight of the responsibility pressing on her shoulders. She realized someone was manipulating the numbers, inflating debts, enforcing bankruptcy. Someone wanted to steal everything Benjamin had worked for. Minutes ticked by. The building was silent except for the occasional hum of the elevator in the distance. Emily's eyes scanned the page again. She started recalculating, adding each line meticulously, double-checking every figure. 1,200,000 here, 800,000, there millions added that didn't exist. Her instincts, honed from a lifetime of necessity and careful observation, told her the total was wrong. The sum was not $10 million, it was only $7.3 million. The discrepancy was massive. Someone was trying to cheat Benjamin out of his life's work. Fear threatened to paralyze her, but another feeling surged, stronger: determination. Memories of her own father flashed through her mind, a man who had lost everything due to accounting errors he had trusted blindly. "If only someone had warned me," he had said once, defeated. Emily had seen enough of the world to know inaction was a silent consent. She could not let this happen. Not to Benjamin, not to the employees who depended on the company, and not to the little girl waiting at home for school supplies she could barely afford. With trembling hands, she grabbed a Post-it note and wrote, her handwriting unsteady but urgent. "Mr. Knight, please double-check the totals on page 7. The creditor's sum is $7.3 million, not $10 million. There are phantom debts added. This could prevent disaster." She placed the bright yellow note carefully on top of the documents, ensuring it would be seen immediately. Emily then rearranged the papers neatly, almost obsessively, and left the office quietly. She returned to her routine, but her heart would not let her relax. At 7:45 a.m., she descended to the lobby and waited by the elevator, trying to calm the rapid beating of her chest. Her legs wanted to run to escape, yet she stayed. At 7:56 a.m., a sleek black Mercedes slid into the garage, and Benjamin Knight stepped out. The man she had seen from afar, always composed and commanding, now looked broken. Dark circles under his eyes, a disheveled suit, a posture weighed down by exhaustion. In his hands, he clutched the folder, unaware of the danger that had been averted, unaware that the company, and perhaps his own life's purpose, had nearly been destroyed before the sun had even risen. At 8:17, a phone rang in his hand. Emily Carter. The voice was strained, urgent. "It's Benjamin Knight. Are you still in the building?" Her pulse jumped. She nodded silently, feeling the walls of invisibility crumble around her. "Don't leave, please. I need you to come with me." Now, Emily watched him run toward her, the weight of the early morning silence shattered by his hurried steps. His eyes found hers, scanning for recognition. Then he stopped abruptly, his gaze landing on the post-it she had left. "Did you do this?" His voice was raw, choked with a vulnerability she had never imagined in the formidable CEO. Emily nodded, unable to speak. She expected anger, perhaps outrage or reprimand. Instead, Benjamin Knight fell to his knees in the empty garage, clutching the folder to his chest, crying openly for the first time she had ever witnessed a man of such power display true emotion. "You just saved my life," he whispered between heavy sobs. "You saved everything." Emily remained frozen, caught between fear and disbelief. She had expected nothing in return, and yet the gravity of her small action, the act of seeing what others missed, of daring to intervene, had changed everything. Benjamin's tears mirrored the weight of responsibility she had felt for so many invisible lives, for Sophie, for herself. He looked up at her with eyes that were no longer those of a distant executive, but of a man who had been reminded that integrity, courage, and humanity could still exist in a world of ruthless ambition. "I can't offer enough thanks," he said, voice still shaky, "but I can offer you a chance to be seen, to use your gift to make a difference." Emily's heart pounded. Could this be real? Could one post-it note, one brave act, truly change the course of not just a company, but a life? The question now hangs in the air as she considers the opportunity before her. Would you, knowing the stakes were this high and the risks, personal step in to stop an injustice, even if no one noticed? Yes or no? Emily followed Benjamin Knight through the gleaming lobby of Skyline Tower, her pulse hammering in her chest. The morning light reflected off the polished marble, but she barely noticed. Her mind was racing with every possible consequence. She had intervened in something far beyond her ordinary life, something that could have destroyed not only the company, but the livelihoods of hundreds of employees. And now Benjamin had asked her to step further into the storm. They reached the CEO's office. Benjamin's hands trembled slightly as he opened the door and gestured for Emily to sit. The same desk she had tidied countless times now seemed monumental, almost intimidating. Minutes later, Jonathan Miles entered the room. He was tall, impeccably dressed in a gray tailored suit, his salt and pepper hair slicked back. His eyes swept the office and froze on Emily. For the first time, she felt the weight of attention focused on her, the invisible becoming undeniable. Benjamin placed the folder on the desk and pointed to the post-it note. "You saw this?" he asked, his voice steady but laced with intensity. Jonathan's expression tightened, a flicker of fear crossing his features. Emily swallowed hard and nodded. The room seemed to contract around her. She could feel every heartbeat, every intake of breath, as if the walls themselves were holding their judgment. Benjamin addressed Jonathan directly, his voice controlled but firm. $17 million of phantom debt were added to force a bankruptcy. You orchestrated this to acquire my company for a fraction of its true value. Jonathan's jaw clenched, his composure masking the panic she could sense underneath. He opened his mouth trying to counter, but Benjamin continued. "The evidence is here. These documents, the calculations, and the photographic proof." Emily Carter saw what no one else did, and she acted. Emily's hands trembled as Benjamin handed her the phone to project the photos onto the screen. Every line, every number, every anomaly she had noticed the night before appeared in full view for all to see. Jonathan's face paled as he recognized the meticulous work she had done. The weight of exposure pressed down on him like a physical force. Employees' lives, contracts, company assets, everything hung on this confrontation. Jonathan stammered, attempting to justify himself. "There must be an error. This isn't final." Benjamin cut him off sharply. "No excuses. 17 million in fabricated debt, Jonathan. Do you deny it?" Silence filled the room. The secretary typed frantically, checking cross-references, but the numbers all matched Emily's calculations. Benjamin's eyes never left hers. He didn't need words. She could feel his trust, his acknowledgement that she had been right to act. The tension in the room was almost unbearable. Emily felt herself trembling, but not with fear. This was adrenaline, a surge of resolve that carried her through uncertainty. She had entered this office as a janitor, invisible and unrecognized, and now she was the center of a pivotal moment that could determine the fate of an entire enterprise. She remembered Sophie's face, the small hope she had promised her daughter, with each calculated move, and it anchored her courage. Benjamin turned to Emily. "I need you to stay to testify to ensure the evidence is seen and recorded. Jonathan will resist, but your diligence is undeniable. Your work has already saved this company once today. You must now ensure it cannot be undone." Emily nodded. She felt a surge of pride, but also the pressure of responsibility. Every eye in the room was on her. Every misstep could be catastrophic, but she couldn't turn away. She had already risked everything, and she wouldn't retreat now. Jonathan attempted one last time to redirect attention, his words sharp and cutting. "This is impossible. She has no authority. She is just a..." Benjamin's gaze froze him mid-sentence. Emily could see the realization in his eyes. Power and position mean nothing when truth is undeniable. Benjamin leaned forward. "Emily Carter has done more in the past 24 hours than many people in this room have in years. Her insight, her courage, her attention to detail saved this company. That is authority." Emily's chest tightened. She had never been spoken to with such respect, never been seen as more than a background presence. And now, in the midst of confrontation, she understood the weight of what it meant to be recognized for what she truly was. Jonathan's demeanor crumbled, his composure cracking under the exposure of his plan. He tried to argue, but every number, every document, every note Emily had taken was irrefutable. Hours seemed to pass in minutes as Benjamin coordinated with legal counsel and internal auditors. Emily guided them through her calculations, showing where the discrepancies had been introduced. Jonathan could only sit visibly shrinking under the scrutiny of proof. Each moment reinforced to Emily that her courage, though small in intention, a simple check of numbers, a note left on a desk, had unmasked corruption, prevented a collapse, and preserved hundreds of livelihoods. Finally, Benjamin faced her again. "Emily, you have the ability to change things," he said softly, almost intimately in its sincerity. "Not just today, but every day going forward. I want you on my team in auditing leading initiatives to prevent this from ever happening again. You will be trained, supported, and valued. No more invisibility." Emily's heart raced, disbelief and exhilaration warring in equal measure. Her life had shifted in a matter of hours from the monotony of early mornings and unseen labor to a pivotal role with real authority and impact. She thought of Sophie, of the opportunities that would now be possible, of the respect that would finally be earned. She could see a future where they were safe, where her courage could build a new life. Benjamin paused, studying her reaction. "Do you accept?" he asked. Emily took a deep breath, steadying herself against the whirlwind of emotion. "Yes," she whispered, tears threatening, but her voice clear. "I will do it." As she left the office later that day, a new sense of purpose settled over her. The city lights reflected in her eyes as she looked up, not down, for the first time in years. She had been invisible, overlooked, and underestimated. Now she had been seen, and her choices had rippled outward in ways she could never have imagined. The weight of courage, of integrity, of standing for truth had transformed everything. Emily walked toward the elevator, glancing once more at the empty office. The questions that had haunted her, the fears, the doubts were still there, but they no longer held her back. She had done something extraordinary, and the morning was just the beginning. If you were in Emily's shoes, facing a moment where a single action could change the lives of hundreds and expose someone powerful, would you act, even if no one could protect you, yes or no? The morning sun streamed through the skyscraper windows, casting long shadows across the polished floors of Knight Enterprises. Emily Carter walked into the office for the first time, not as a janitor, not as someone invisible, but as a member of the executive auditing team entrusted with responsibility that mattered. Her hands no longer trembled as she carried documents. Instead, they held confidence, born of courage, integrity, and the knowledge that she had changed the course of lives beyond her own. Benjamin Knight stood by the conference table, a hint of exhaustion still etched on his face, but his posture was steady. Jonathan Miles had been confronted, the evidence undeniable, and legal counsel had already begun processing the implications of the fraudulent debt scheme. Emily had played a pivotal role in exposing the deceit, and the company was safe once more. But today wasn't just about preventing disaster, it was about new beginnings. Emily sat at her own desk, a clean, well-lit space with her name engraved on a gold plaque, Emily Carter Jr., Audit Analyst. It felt surreal to see her name there, to feel recognized, to know that her attention to detail and her courage had finally given her visibility. She glanced across the office at Benjamin, who was speaking with other executives, ensuring that new safeguards were in place to prevent anyone from manipulating the numbers again. He caught her gaze and gave a small nod, an unspoken acknowledgement that her life and the lives of many employees had been transformed because she had dared to act. Later, Emily returned home to Sophie. The apartment was brighter, the kitchen stocked with food they could afford, and the bills for Sophie's school supplies had been paid in full. Sophie ran into her mother's arms full of excitement and relief. "Mom, we're going to be okay now, aren't we?" she asked, eyes wide with hope. Emily hugged her tightly, a sense of peace settling over her. "Yes, Sophie, we are going to be more than okay. We're going to thrive." In the weeks that followed, Emily dove into her new role, learning the intricacies of auditing contracts, reviewing internal processes, and identifying discrepancies that others had overlooked. Her natural instincts and meticulous attention to detail uncovered not only mistakes, but patterns of inefficiency and misuse that saved the company hundreds of thousands of dollars. Colleagues began to respect her, and those who had doubted her skills could no longer ignore the results she delivered. Every action she took now had purpose. Every calculation mattered. Benjamin, impressed and grateful, approached her with a proposal. "Emily, your courage didn't just save the company. It gave hundreds of employees a future. I want to create a foundation dedicated to protecting and supporting people who expose fraud and wrongdoing, those who might otherwise remain invisible. I want you to lead it." Emily hesitated, feeling the weight of the responsibility, but she thought of Sophie, of the chance to help others who might be overlooked, and she accepted. The foundation, aptly named Visible Voices, would offer legal support, mentorship, and financial aid for whistleblowers and individuals who took a stand despite fear. Months turned into a year, and Emily's work through the foundation had already touched dozens of lives. Employees, custodians, administrative staff, and even young professionals found courage in her story. She became a symbol of integrity, of bravery, of the power one person could have when they chose to act. Her story went viral online, inspiring countless others to speak up, to observe carefully, to intervene when they saw injustice. On the anniversary of the morning that changed everything, Emily returned to Skyline Tower to speak at a company-wide gathering. Standing on stage before hundreds of employees, she recounted the events that had led to her unexpected rise from invisibility to influence. She spoke of fear, doubt, courage, and the choice to act when doing nothing would have been easier. She reminded everyone that every honest action mattered, and that integrity was often the invisible thread holding lives together. Sophie sat in the front row and applauding with tears in her eyes, pride shining through every expression. As the crowd erupted in applause, Emily felt a sense of fulfillment she had never known. She had saved a company, protected livelihoods, and inspired a movement. But more than that, she had created a life of dignity and purpose for herself and for Sophie. She had learned that visibility came not from wealth, title, or recognition, but from the courage to stand for what was right, even when no one else would notice. As the event concluded, Emily took a moment to look out at the audience, her gaze settling on each face. She knew that courage was contagious, that one act could ripple into thousands of lives. She thought about those watching her story online, who might be hidden in plain sight, waiting for the chance to act. Now we turn to you. Did Emily's bravery and integrity inspire you to believe that one person can make a real difference? Do you feel moved by how courage and attention to detail can change lives? If you feel inspired, comment yes or no below, share where you are watching from, and tell us what you think about her story. If you like this story, be sure to click like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to see more videos like this. Share this story with friends, family, or colleagues, and let them see how a single brave act can ripple outward and change the world.